Hey everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Alison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm delighted to bring in my guest in a moment. But first, I must catch up with producer Tony Thaxton, self-professed bad boy of podcasting. He's back after his tour that did not happen. Hello and welcome back.
Hello. Thank you. How's it going, Al?
You know I don't like that.
Which is all the more reason to do it.
I know. You know, I was thinking that this was your first show back, but then I was like, why am I getting intense deja vu? And it's because this is actually your second show back, because you were on a week ago, the Jenny Pentland episode.
This is correct.
Yeah.
You got all your facts right, Al.
Oh my God. What have I done to deserve? I'm merely stating a fact. You gave yourself a nickname.
Hey, but all in fun. And then, I'm not the one I just said it as a joke. You're the one that continues to do it. So.
Okay, fine. But I still don't think there's referencing your own nickname that you gave yourself, even though you said it once as a joke. And then there's calling me Al. And those don't have parody. That's right.
Yeah, but you have the issue with me giving myself the nickname, but you didn't give yourself the nickname Al, so then I guess that makes it appropriate. Oh.
I don't know if I agree with that, but I see where you're headed with that.
You're welcome.
Alison, Rosen, Alison's your new best friend.
All right. How was life? Because we got to bring in the guests, but if there's any burning tone zone issues... we need to find out.
I'm not sure if you know about this pandemic thing that's been happening for a while now, but
yes.
It's kind of made so that not a whole lot really happens. And I always feel like when you try to talk to me, a lot of times I just say, I don't know, nothing's going on. Yeah. And then today I was like,
that's why they love you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, here we go. Something happened today. The dog's outside, fenced in. And I hear him kind of, he's not, aside from his snorts, he's not a very vocal dog, but I hear him kind of like whimper. And I go outside and there is a little dog on the other side of the fence, like not with a person. And I'm like, oh, here we go. They're going to have to like deal with this, sort this out. Going to give me something to talk about. And ask me what happened.
What happened, Tony?
He had a collar on, called the phone number, and the guy lived across the street and he came and got him.
That's still quite an adventure. You saved and rescued a small dog.
Yep. Yeah. Apparently, and he had just gotten out. It'd been about 2 minutes, maybe. And what a ride it was.
Was he sufficiently appreciative? Did you feel like?
No, not really. I'll give you that. No, he just goes kind of like, oh, thanks.
Did you sneak in an owl?
No,
or am I
but
hearing
I wish I would. Now I'm going to edit one in afterward. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because it sounded like you said, no, not really, Al. I'm just hearing it.
Oh, I think I said, I'll give you that.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, that's about as exciting as my day got today.
Yeah, because I once rescued and saved a dog as well. In the same way, where it was like in the street, and then I texted and called the owner. The dog's name was Cokie, and I remember texting because she wasn't answering, so I texted her and I was like, "Hey, just want to let you know I have Cokie." But I feel like she was very like circumspect. Like I felt like she was suspicious, like what's going on, and then I realized it almost sounds like a hostage ransom situation. Like I should have said, I found you. By the way, I found your dog. Don't worry, I've got her. But I was just like, I have your dog. But anyway, it all worked out. And you and I, you know what we are, Tony? We're heroes.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for saying it. So
we're not going to be appreciated in our lifetimes.
But this podcast is going to live forever, and people will hear this in hundreds of years. And heroes.
That's right. Because I think in 100 years, they're going to be going back into my back episodes. And they're like, let's listen to that one. You know what?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to bring in my guest in one moment. I just have a real quick update for people who have been paying attention. I don't know if it was on Patreon episode or a regular episode that I talked about.
Patreon.
Thank you. Extremely fat squirrel that like bounces around in the tree that I can see while I'm podcasting. And he or she or they is so fat that the tree is like, it's almost like a slingshot. Like it really it bounces wildly around. So I've been thinking, is this squirrel pregnant? And now today it's two squirrels. It's the pleasantly plump one, and then another one. Are they a couple? Is this a doula? What's going on? I wish I could interview them. What did you just say?
I said, I don't know.
You said, I don't know, Al.
You'll have to check the recording back later.
You're Al lighting me. Okay. It's just big. It's breaking news in the squirrel world. I feel like I should film them and put that up on Patreon.
Yeah, you're trying to go viral. I know what's going on.
That's right. I am. Look, I've gone viral for less or haven't gone viral at all. But still, anyway, okay, you guys, you are going to love this guest. Quite possibly you already know him because he is the creme de la creme of podcasters. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's a podcaster. You know him from the High and Mighty podcast, which I just did, and I had a delightful time. It has not aired yet. You also know him from Action Boys. You know him from Spotify Green Room, The Movie Buff. You also know him from frequent appearances on Comedy Bang Bang, Doughboys, and a ton of others. Please put your hands together for Jon Gabrus.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome.
Hi, Tony. Long time no see as well. And if I could just quote our friend Paul Simon here.
Please.
Tony, you can call me Al. If you'd like, you can call me Al.
See, I think that song put a bad message out there. And
that
the
Chevy
message,
Chase was a good guy?
Yeah. Two bad messages. One, the Chevy Chase situation, and two, the idea that like you can call people Al, when really I think you need consent. You need to ask, because not every Al appreciates Al. And also,
not every Albert wants to go by Al. Not every Alan wants to be Al. Not every Allison wants to be Al.
Specifically, your Alisons, your Alicias, your Alices. We don't want to be Al, I don't think.
He wasn't saying you can call everybody Al. That wasn't the song.
I know.
Yeah, he's allowed to tell people, like, now you're getting in like the way of his identity. He's saying, call me Al. You can call me Al. And you're going, no one better call me Al. You're making this song about you, Alison.
I know, but in the same way that thank you very much. In the same way that I call it Alison Rosen is your new best friend, I think the other Alison Rosens out there, probably there's like a halo effect of like, oh, they're so friendly. They're nice, you know? When you make a song, people do with it what they will. So I just think, Al, oh, you can call people that. By the way, you guys, X-rated squirrel porn is happening out my window.
Seriously? You can see penetration?
No, I can't
no
see
squirrel trash?
No, but there's no, but I mean, I can see like, okay, imagine doggy style. I know you with dogs.
I can't stop imagining it.
Like one squirrel is now, yeah.
I believe they call it squirrel style, but
yes, one squirrel is on top of the other. Oh my God. And like almost and biting the back of its neck. Whoa.
Ooh,
I would assume because of tail size that from behind would be difficult for these animals.
I was thinking the same thing.
But maybe because my brain first went to, the tail must be a big part of it. Like having that in your face, that like now I'm speaking a little bit I'm revealing a little too much about myself there. You know, having your face covered and you're like, can't breathe really, like increases climax. I'm assuming for the squirrels.
Well, I told you one of the squirrels is
what
really
kind of
big.
show is this?
This is it's a nature show. One of the shows is really big. So
is none of the one of the squirrels is really fat.
Yeah. So I think the other one might have a gigantesque fetish. Like we just learned from Jordan Morris about on Resident Evil number 8, I believe. Do you play video games?
I don't, but I know because of my giantess fetish, I know who the giant woman from Resident Evil is.
Demetrius. So there's some, oh my God. you know what? I can't keep doing this. It's not fair to people who want me to pay attention to one thing, but like the big one now is just like jumping around and just flapping its tail. I don't know. Maybe this is like what it does after intimacy. Maybe it's reclaiming its space. Okay.
It's there smoking a cigarette. Like that's how squirrels do it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I see a lot of fat squirrels. You know, I lived in New York City for like 10, 12 years and saw a lot of squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to LA, saw less number of squirrels, but more. They're always way bigger.
It's interesting.
I feel like they like live longer here or something because there's a squirrel that I catch like on top of the recycling bin or fucking around by the garbage in the back of my apartment building. And when I go back there, it looks like a fucking long-tailed cat is sitting on the it's like it's a little, and it's got like a gut. It's like a little unflattering, like it's like a little squirrel with bad posture. And I'm like, I've never seen a squirrel that fat. And then I get on this pod and you're talking about a fat squirrel you have off camera.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if that's a pattern, or is this a myopic worldview and just two people have mentioned it, so I assume it's global?
I hope people let us know. Use the hashtag fat squirrel. Tweet us at ARIYMBF. Do you think that the squirrels are leaner and meaner in New York because of all the walking?
Yeah, you just accidentally are getting your steps in all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fat squirrel I saw get in a Tesla and drive away. So
Right?
Picked up sweet greens, though, so maybe he's trying.
I mean, people think of the California lifestyle as much healthier, but what they don't realize is that in New York, you're just in the course of a day, you're so much more mobile. I was, at least.
I was, and I mean, you have accidentally have 6 more alcoholic beverages a day than you would in Los Angeles.
Right. There's that too. The staying out till 4 a.m. is not particularly healthy.
Yeah. Or you're like, oh, fuck, I have 2 hours. I can't go home in between. I guess I'll go to this bar that's in between the 2 destinations I need to hit. And I'll have 3 beers before my next meeting or whatever. Yeah. That was my life. Maybe I'm just making bad choices. I should
Do you
project
miss it?
that
I know you're from Long Island originally, right? Because
sorry.
Well, you're the number one fuckboy, right?
Correct. I'm Long Island's number one fuckboy, and now all of America's number one fuckboy. The rankings the 2022 power rankings, fuckboy power rankings haven't dropped yet. So we'll see where I fall. It's a weird, complicated algorithm, and it's based on it's like the IMDb star meter. I don't get it. I'm just rooting for myself to be high.
Yes.
I lived in New York, went to school in New York, in the area around the city, then lived in the city for a decade plus. I miss it. Now that I'm like a more fully realized person, I'm 40 when this episode airs. I am a little more comfortable with myself. I have some money for the first time in my life, like not good money, but I'm not worried right now.
Right.
In New York, I was worried like every week. I would love to go back with that energy, but also I've so adapted to California. I'm so adapted to Southern California specifically. Like, I don't want to step in a cold puddle ever again. I don't. And like, it's not going to happen here. Mm-hmm. It happened in New York frequently. You want to wear your Chuck Taylors to an audition in February? Okay, well, be careful. Stepping on what you think is ice might be 2 feet deep. Like, might have be a sliver of ice on top of 2 feet of fucking brown milk water. And you just fucking go up.
Yeah, I remember I was late for an audition and it was raining and I was soaking wet. And I think I did terribly I can't even remember what it was for. But usually I haven't auditioned a ton. But in my experience, you don't get feedback immediately. But I remember the casting director or whoever it was saying something like, if we hadn't seen your earlier stuff, I definitely she said something negative, like negative. But it was like, if we
I would have put a bullet in your head if I didn't see that original tape.
Exactly.
Whoa, okay. Pretty negative.
Yeah.
When I first moved to LA, I had a job back in New York. Like I moved away from a job I had in New York, but they said they would fly me in for it because it was like not a frequent thing.
What was
I was like
it?
Sick. It was for the MTV 2 show called Guy Code.
Oh yeah.
Times have changed. Don't watch that show. And but now, so I fly back to New York in like January, and I've only lived in LA for 2 months, but it was November and December. I fly home in January. I get home in January. My hotel is in Midtown, like right near Times Square. It's like 44th and 8th. And it's gray, rainy, snowy slush. Like not like fun, beautiful New York City snow. And it's past the
dirty ice.
Past holiday. Yeah, dirty ice, gray snow, past the holidays. So Times Square is not appealing at all. And I needed that. It was like having sex with your ex after you've broken up and they do something that you've always hated about them.
Right.
And you're like, okay, yeah, felt good to get one last one in, but we are going our separate ways. And that's how I felt going back to New York. I experienced it like at its worst.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in a charming neighborhood in Brooklyn. You know, the fall there is beautiful. I had and just being there in the winter on 8th Avenue and everything's slushy and it's like, oh, fuck this place. Yeah.
Right. Interesting.
And
See, for me, the humid summer months in New York would be enough to make me go like, ugh, I got to get out of here. I like cold though. I don't mind cold.
See, I've kind of forgotten about the humidity in a way that like I've been, you know, punched in the face by. I'm like, right. Just like walking out of JFK in the summer and you're like, yeah, it gets fucking gross here. Like, and it's not, it gets gross most places. It's just, I've been living in the desert for a decade.
Right.
So it feels fucking great.
So I have to tell you, you inspired me to start doing a new thing on my show, which I didn't do on this one, but I will explain. So on High and Mighty, you and a guest talk about a topic loosely.
Correct. Yes, correct. We spoke about yearbooks.
We did.
Your episode, I'm not sure when it drops, but get pumped. It was a barn burner, baby.
Is it the kind of thing where if you hadn't seen my previous work, you would put a bullet in my head?
Yeah, I thought that over Zoom. I was like trying to find in the pull down menu, for the sniper to take the shot.
Oh,
and all I could get was a squirrel cum shot button. I was like, I don't think I need that. That seems way too specific to Alison.
Oh, you mean you have a squirrel cum shot option from the pull down when you Zoom with everyone or just me?
I don't know.
I think it's a new feature. Did you upgrade Zoom?
I did upgrade, so maybe that's what it is. It fixed some bugs and adds the squirrel pop shot, which is great.
So anyway, and I hope I'm not revealing too much of, how the sausage gets made.
Please.
But you asked me to send you over a list of potential topics that we could discuss. And I sent like one, and then you're like, this one's okay. Do you have others? So I sent over a big list. And then we narrowed it down to yearbooks. And since then, when I have people on the Monday show, which is the interview show, occasionally, actually everyone except you, I think I didn't do it with you because I'm like, this is your thing. I was like, could you send me a list of potential talking points or things you might like to discuss? It's like in my, 10th year of doing this, I've decided now to do like the barest minimumist of pre-interviews. But I got the idea from you, so thank you.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's not always, the process isn't always that. Sometimes I'll be like, Tony, do you want to come on High and Mighty and talk about drums? Like just something I know someone likes, or something I'm in. Or most frequently how High and Mighty episodes come together is I'm talking in real life or on social media to a mutual about something.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, would you want to come on High and Mighty and scream about health insurance with me? Like that kind of shit. Like that's how, so you and I not engaging in real life all too frequently, but meeting on your pod, we were like, we should do it. And I was like, I got to find out because that episode, I didn't learn too much about you, so I needed to
right.
Now I would have, your list was fantastic and yearbooks is quite the topic. It really,
and what I
hits
learned,
you in the nostalgia sweet spot as well.
What I learned from you in that episode, I mean, I learned a ton, but you worked in your cafeteria.
Yes, I did. Unofficially, I was in my cafeteria for one of my off periods and hanging out with the lunch ladies in exchange for like free chicken patties and chicken nuggets. And I'm in not my graduation year's yearbook, but someone else's graduation, either the class of 98 or the class of 99. I'm in the yearbook posed with all the lunch ladies. Okay. And I have like yellow tinted Lisa Loeb glasses on and frosted tips and like a hemp choker with a seashell on it. I'm just like the most 1998 boy you could be. Probably wearing a Stussy polo or some shit.
Yes. And when you say boy, I'm hearing it as BOI. Maybe because you're the famous fuckboy.
Right. It's the bois of it all. Yeah.
Were you a fuckboy?
No, I kind of just randomly said that in like episode 11 of the podcast and it stuck. And then like maybe 50 episodes later, my friend Cypher Sounds, comedian and DJ out of New York, is like, the term fuckboy comes from like the guy in prison who fucks who like everyone fucks. I was like,
I didn't know that.
I mean, either. And I mean, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's close. It's kind of changed now. Kind of means like player or douchebag guy or whatever.
That's what I thought it would have been.
And I thought that's what I thought it was. And I kind of think that's tongue in cheek. I've been with the same woman since 2003. So like I'm quite the opposite of player,
right.
So, it's kind of, I have fun with it. It's like just funny to be a 40-year-old man calling yourself a fuckboy.
So take us back. What was growing up in Long Island like?
No. Yeah, we should have done a pre-interview. No, I'm kidding. Well, it was, we were a poor family. We were kind of trashy, but my parents lived on Long Island. My grandparents lived on Long Island. They moved from like Queens to Long Island, which is classic Italian immigrant, procedure. You go Naples, Queens, Long Island. Naples. When I moved into the city, my pop-up, who was still alive then, Jimmy V, and Union stage, all the Italian side of the family is all Union Broadway stagehands, which apparently is a sort of like mafia light. Like getting that job is like only cousins and nephews and sons, like only people who are connected get those jobs. So that family did, that side of the family did that. And then my dad's side of the family was kind of like uneducated, like local, like all high school dropouts. He's one of 6 kids, was one of 6 kids. And they were like, his parents were like the last farmers on Long Island, like real, like no schooling. They worked at delis and caterers and, all blue collar. My dad was eventually get a stagehand job from his father-in-law, my grandfather, but my dad was like a car detailer, when he married my mom. Like, and I lived in like a town called Freeport, which is where the high school my parents went to. Then I lived in that town until I was like 13. And that was a fun, crazy time. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't even understand what it was, but I lived in like an all black and Hispanic town and neighborhood. And then I moved like 3 towns over when my mom graduated nursing school and got a new job. Like now I have the hindsight to be like, once a much bigger second income, once my mom went from making probably like 20 something grand a year to 50 something grand a year, my parents could afford to move to a bigger house with better school systems, which is unfortunately in the white, like Long Island is very diverse, but very segregated as well. It's like if you mapped it out by like skin tone, it would look like like a giraffe or something. It's like white people live here, Jewish people live here, black people live here, Latino people live here. It's kind of like everything's 5 minutes away. You're always 5 minutes away from the Jewish neighborhood or 5 minutes away from the white neighborhood, because it's kind of all on top of each other. But we moved 2 towns over, and that was in like, again, through therapy and shit. At the time, I didn't feel any of it. I didn't know what I was feeling, but in Freeport, you go to a different school for 5th grade. So I went to 4th grade in one school, went to a completely different school in 5th grade, then moved to Belmore to go to a completely different school in a different school district for 6th grade. And then that was the last year in their elementary school program. Then you jump to 7th grade in a junior high with 8 more elementary schools. Then in 9th grade, you jump to a high school with other people from other junior highs and losing people from that junior high.
Wow.
So there was like an 8-year run when I was like going to a new school every year. Like there was like a 5-year run when I went to a new school every year. And I think looking back, that kind of unpacked my sort of like shame removal of like that I now have. Like I have the ability to, it's narcissism, but as a defense mechanism, it's like I can walk into a party and be like, I am not anxious about this. Everyone here is excited that I'm here because and I think that energy comes from being like having to make all new friends like 5 years in a row when you're at your like least confident, least realized version of yourself, because you're self-aware when you're 11 and 12 that you're a loser. but you don't know, you can't like zoom out and be like, but that's not a big deal to be a loser in this moment. But like when you're younger than 11, you don't know you're a loser. And then you like move schools and they're like, you can't wear puff paint yin yang crew necks that your aunt made at the Universal Unitarian Life Church. You can't wear this to school. You're in 6th grade. We wear jeans. The fucking, I moved it my new town in 6th grade. I had never worn jeans before. Or khakis to school. I always wore sweatpants or like wind pants. And I never, the white kids got roasted all the time in my elementary school and junior high. Like, so it didn't like I didn't realize that and then I went to a mostly white school and then I was still able to be an outcast because I dressed, I didn't have any guidance rudders before, so I'm like, now I'm getting roasted for not having jeans and for not having button down shirts, and I'm like, and like that's a whole new vibe for me, and I'm like, this is whack. So I'm just like, and then I eventually stumble into myself later on in high school, still a huge loser, but care way less about what people think about me, and start to get that sort of narcissistic defense mechanism move where you're like, well, these people are assholes and dummies and freaks. That's why they don't like me. Or that's why, who cares if they don't like me? They're dumb. Who cares if I'm not cool in this school? This school sucks. Like I got to that level. And then when I went away to college, I was a full blown obnoxious animal asshole who thought he was Van Wilder and like lived like, movies have always been such a huge part of my life that when I went away to college, I think I was like, well, I know how to go to college because I saw movies about college. And I was like, kind of just lived like everything was a fraternity party. Everything was like, it was Animal House, Van Wilder, all that Euro Trip accepted, all that disgusting shit. I just was like, that's what you're supposed to do. And I went to like a cliche Northeastern college where it was like, everybody was like upper middle class from the tri-state area. And it was
you went to Marist, right? Is that like a small liberal arts college?
Yeah, it's a small liberal arts Catholic college too. So
Were
it's
you
like
Catholic? Are you Catholic?
I was raised Catholic. It didn't even matter to me. This is like one of the biggest heartbreaks in like my history is for me, and it's so minor and it's so bullshit bougie, champagne problems, but my mom's like, you should go to Marist College. And I was just like, fine. And I was like, I just don't want to talk about college. I don't want to think about college. I don't care about college. It's dumb. I don't want to thinking about my decision a bunch. That's gay. It's like, you just like analyzing the pros and cons.
Yeah.
That's for girls, just
trying
like stupid,
too hard. Yeah.
just stupid young boy shit. And I was just like, whatever, Mom, I'll go to fucking Marist. Like it was down to 2 schools and I visited one, Siena College, which was just very similar. And I got my scholarship revoked at the visit because I like played around too much and was acting the fool, and the dean had a meeting with me and I had my scholarship removed. And then I got it back through a letter writing campaign. But at that point, again, the bitterness, I was like, fuck you. I don't want to go to your school.
Wait, who all wrote the letters?
I did. I had to go have I had to write him an apology letter, then go have like a meeting with the dean at like some fucking hotel in Westbury where they were doing like a college recruitment thing. So I gotta go fucking tail between my legs. I'm 17 and I'm like, I'm sorry that I partied too hard at fucking Presidential Scholars Weekend or whatever the fuck my crime was. So then I go to Marist, and then you get older and you realize you hear about schools like University of Hawaii, or you move to California and drive past Pepperdine, and you're like, I could have went to a college like that, and I didn't go to a cheap college either. It just was close,
right?
And I realized in hindsight, I let my mom's fucking insane fear of flying and her inability to let go of her oldest son, I let her choose a college. She's like, you got to go to college. It's less than 3-hour drive away. I was like, that makes total sense. And I just did that. And I was like, eventually I was like, fuck, man, I got friends who are going to school in Florida. I got friends who are surfing before class, and I'm fucking freezing my ass off at a college where a guy in a fucking priest collar lives on your floor. Jesus, I wish I had a little more foresight.
I have 1,000 questions.
Go. I mean, I just talked for 18 minutes unbroken, so it's fair.
Did you yourself have apprehension about going far away?
I don't think so. I don't know. I had not flown with my family yet because my mom never flew. I'd flown with friends and their families to go on their family vacations. But like, I was prepared to fly by myself. But at the same time, I was so against thinking about the future in that way, where I was like, college is fucking whack. Who cares? I just want to go where they're most. I want to go. Like, I would remember being like looking at that fucking Barron's, whatever that big book of like where you look at
it Barron's, or well, also U.S. News and World Report rated them, but I think there was a Barron's guide to colleges.
Big book, yeah, exactly. And you would be like, look through, and it would just be like 55% women. That would be all I would say. Like the most heterosexual. Fucking 17. Don't let 16-year-old kids choose their fucking like we should empower 16-year-olds to make decisions, but that's too big of a decision. Like choose a major, choose a fucking place you want to go to for 4 years, choose who will probably be the first 8 weddings you go to. Like the amount of stuff you choose by choosing a college is wild.
But it sounds like your mom chose.
Yeah, my mom, and that's what makes it even worse is that my mom just blanket made that decision for me because I was a 16-year-old boy. If I was 19 and had worked 1 year at home or like lifeguarded at Hofstra Swim Center for a year, I'd probably have a better idea. If I understood how money worked, I probably wouldn't have gone away to a college that cost that much. I would have went to a state school and not had been pinned down by debt until I book a TV show when I'm 36 years old and I'm able to pay it off finally.
I don't have regrets about where I went to college, but I do feel like that experience was waste. I didn't realize how like great and wonderful that experience was and how much was handed to us.
Oh yeah.
At the time, not at all. I was just too young.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I don't have like regrets because I met my wife there. I found rugby, one of my favorite sport there. I started playing it there. I was a huge comedy fan before there, but I joined the comedy group and started writing sketches and doing improv in college. So I really did develop my little personality and found a bunch of stuff that appealed to me there. But then when you move to New York City and all the kids at UCB went to NYU and they've been like, oh, I've been riding the subway since I was 19 years old. I know I've been taking classes here. Oh, you've never been to this cool club or restaurant that's in New York City? And it's like, no, I went to college in a small town. I went to this, Coyote Grill was our nicest restaurant. That's where you went. That's where your parents took you on your birthday. It was like all fast casual places.
Okay, more of my questions because I took notes now. 5th grade being a separate school, if you hadn't moved, would you have stayed 5th? Would it go 5th, 6th, whatever? Or was it like 5th grade was its own
it was
school?
5th and 6th at Atkinson, then 7th and 8th at junior high, then 9th through 12th at high school. Yeah.
Okay.
So this random, my childhood schooling was like 1st through 4th was elementary school and 5th and 6th was its own kind of school. Like it was called Atkinson. I think it just was a big school district. So they were like, they had to like divide us kids up.
Okay. Now, when you got to the school where jeans and button-down shirts were cool, but you were wearing puffy paint. And by the way, my mom, sister, and I did spend a whole summer puffy painting shirts. I had forgotten. It was a real big thing at the time.
Hell yeah.
When you got there, did you then start wearing jeans and button-downs? Or were you like, this is who I am?
No, I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to be made fun of.
Yeah.
Like I was a new kid in school. There was 2 other new kids in that grade. And one of the kids both of them were transfers from the Catholic school into public school. So they knew each other from that. So like I was completely just new kid in fucking like, my mom would put me in like spandex bicycle shorts with like a mismatch, like I'd wear like blue spandex bicycle shorts and like a blue checkered Zubaz print shirt, like 3/4 sleeve or fucking mock neck, like just the most unflattering, insane shit. And then I begged for jeans. My parents didn't want to get me jeans because I remember this conversation. What do you get? You're going to grow out of them. They cost a fortune and you grow out of them. So
right. Whereas bicycle shorts are more forgiving.
Yeah. You can wear them for 3 years, I guess. Just getting more and more packed the sausage in there, pun intended. I got a phone call home in 6th grade because I snuck my dad's jeans out of the dryer and wore my dad's jeans to school to try to have jeans. But my dad was 6'5", and I'm in 6th grade. My dad was 6'5", 250, so he wore size 36, 36. Now, as a grown up, I'm like, damn, my dad kept it together. I'm 30. He was a 36, 36. I wore that to school in 6th grade with like a Boy Scout belt, you know, like that, like pulled so tight. I looked like a fucking like little rascal. I looked like a fucking black and white cartoon about like a hobo child. Aww. And the pants were like cuffed like 100 times. And the teacher just called home and was like, we just want to check in. You know, is Jonathan acting up? He seems to be wearing his dad's clothes. And then I got in a bunch of trouble for that. But then I did get a pair of jeans.
So
it worked. I got a pair of Wranglers. And I wore them every single fucking day to school. I wouldn't even put them in the wash on the weekends because I'd be afraid I couldn't get them back by Monday. So I would just come home from school, take them off, and put them on the chair in my bedroom and be like, okay, they're going right back on in the morning. I had like 3 Quicksilver Billabong t-shirts in rotation, and I would just have my one pair of jeans being like, yes. I wore those things until bugs came fucking crawling out of them.
I mean, I'm just picturing like you start bicycle shorts, the shirt you described, and then you end up as how you looked in that picture with the lunch ladies. This was a pivotal step on the way towards being, you know, king of 2002 or whatever it was.
I do think my awful, non-fashionable, poor kid clothing did make me roll comfort or purpose over fashion into my life, where I was like, now as a grown up, I'd rather dress like a schlub and be made fun of than wear jeans. You know what I mean? Like I'll take the L of getting to wear sweatpants somewhere because that's so much better than jeans now that I'm a grown up. But I think, and I think that's also why my fashion sense, even in my 20s through 30s, was so childish, because I didn't get to wear what I wanted to wear when I was a kid. So I think that's why I'm like in board shorts and Hawaiian shirts for like my 20s, 30s, and starting on Monday, my 40s. I don't think I'm changing my fashion sense at all.
This episode comes out on your birthday, and that is exciting for all involved.
It comes out on Monday?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Well, it's wish me a fucking happy birthday,
everyone! Tweet Gabrus. You're at Gabrus, right?
Correct. Today's my 40th.
Yeah. It's his big 40. So everyone tweet him happy birthday. And then what are you,
Betsy?
What are you on Instagram?
At Gabrus as well.
Perfect.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you described yourself as a loser numerous times when you were telling the story of being a kid. What do you mean by that?
I just mean I wasn't in like the cool kid clique, really. And my school was kind of cut. There was like 2 cool kid cliques, the jocks and the dirt bags is what they were called. And I wasn't part of either of them, really. But I was like, I had friends. I wasn't like it was a pretty normal childhood. Like, I know it's cliche. It was kind of like Freaks and Geeks. Like my without the band kids or older potheads ever coming into our lives, because me and my 2 best friends, we called ourselves the Nerd Herd. We played video games and D&D and Magic the Gathering and all that shit. So I had buddies. We were all movie fans. We were all into TV and like watching comedies and stuff, and did not hanging out with girls and stuff. But it was also, my high school experience was I went to a very much, and I didn't know this. I thought this was global. I thought everyone had this experience. I went to a drinking high school. Like, I drank every Friday and Saturday night starting in like 8th or 9th grade.
Whoa.
And all through high school. I went away to college. I was so taken aback when I went away to college how few people could handle their liquor and booze and shit. It's like, wait, I've already thrown up 200 times. like I've already made all the bad choices. Like I like in high school, I've already wet myself and had to talk to my mom about it. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't know that was unusual. Like, and I was like, Jesus. And then in hindsight, it's like, now that you know what alcohol does to your body as a grown up and with research, you're like, fuck, I did that from 14 to 34.
Right. And you think that, and you feel that it was part of the culture as opposed to something that drew you to it. I guess the reason I'm asking is because when you said that you started drinking that young, I almost made a joke about like, that's the story of the kind of kids who would come to our school and like give us a speech about not following in their footsteps, you know, with like DARE and stuff like that. But I also know that there are schools where that really is kind of the culture.
It was kind of the culture, but I think what drew me to it was getting away from my house. And I come from a family of alcoholics too, so there's probably something else going on there.
Alcoholics and mafia members? My word.
Oh, yeah. Fake mafia members, they would touch their nose when they were talking about people who are pseudo connected. That was like their big thing. It's like, yeah, well, you want to be careful around Jim. And they would like touch their nose.
YouTube.com.
I don't want stolen mafia valor.
YouTube.com/Alison Rosen to see what the Gabrus clan would do. It's similar to what Santa Claus does, I think. It's a real connected or Christmas gesture.
I can't tell if it's like the nose tap as in a subtle gesture or if it's about bending the nose a little to be like he's the kind of guy whose nose has been broken. Like, I think low key that might be part of it. I don't know.
I thought it was like crooked or something.
Might be. Oh, yeah. That makes sense too. My pop-up and my dad would have espresso with Sambuca after every meal at our house. And that's when they would start spiraling, talking about people and being like, well, be careful around him. Because my pop-up worked at Fox 5 and then my dad worked at Fox 5. So like, but my pop-up obviously retired well before my dad was done. Outlived my dad though. Good for him. But he was always asking for like work goss, more or less. So my childhood was like a lot of like sitting around watching my every adult I know be absolutely wasted and oversharing. And now look at me.
And so you thought you would like to get in on that.
It was a cool thing to do. Like the cool kids were drinking. It was still like weird social structure there where the nerd herds were sort of like on the outside of the field that we're drinking it. We're drinking at like school playgrounds and like we're still not like in the main circle with the cool kids who have older siblings who are also there, but sort of made a name for myself just being a part. And then also there's a reason people get addicted to drinking. It fucking rules. So it's like fun to get drunk when you're a freshman. Then like maybe you get drunk one weekend and a girl kisses you and she's drunk and you kiss her and you guys kiss. And then you connect the idea of like, shit, drinking is when hooking up happens. And your brain is so driven towards ejaculation that you're like, fuck it, I got to start drinking and partying every night. I had like a crazy sexual experience early on in high school that I was like, oh shit, I'm living like a fucking, like, this is a movie life. And then it never really reached that part again, until like 5-6 years later. And I was like, oh, like, and I thought like drinking and partying and chasing it because this one time you had this positive outcome.
Right.
That's the answer to getting laid, is just being the biggest party animal. And it's like hindsight being 2020. My wife was straight edge. You didn't call it sober back then. She was straight edge when I met her because her and her ex-boyfriend were part of some scene.
Got it. Did she have X's on her hands?
No, she had no tats, but her ex-boyfriend is like full sleeve, scream core singer, some maybe Tony could chime in here with some music knowledge, or he's like, don't you dare pull me into this shit, dude.
I don't know him. I don't feel safe, assuming here.
Let's just take a quick moment to address Tony's shirt. Tony, I've been meaning to bring it up before.
What?
My shirt?
Great shirt.
It's a good shirt, but you have your thumbs through something. What has thumb holes?
It's my jacket. It's just a like little like lightweight jacket that I.
It's funny that comes right on the heels of talking about old bands, because that was like such a style for like a certain type of like music in the aughts. It was like sort of like emo for you to have like a hole in your long sleeve that you put your thumb through, and it was sort of like wearing but then I have a few running hoodies or running fleeces that have that, and that's just to like keep your hand warmer.
Yeah, that's literally all this
yeah.
is. It's just like it's basically like a running jacket, and I didn't even realize the holes were in it until after I got it, and I just do it because they're there.
I have a few too, and I thought like, oh, that'll be so cozy. But then when I wear them, I'm like, I want this off my thumbs.
It's a little tighter than you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a little pulls your thumb more than you thought. At least for me, and that could be because of my torso and upper back and shit. But I said it's a cool shirt to Alison bringing up Tony's shirt. Didn't know she was going down the whole thumb route. I thought she was, because he's going SOS unzipped with a little SOS's shirt on shirt. And he's got unzipped, layered. He's got a little amoeba shirt on.
Yeah.
No, little. He's got an amoeba shirt on. It's little on my
little belly
screen.
shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really tiny.
I
think
love
it's
your
a bib.
midriff. And he's
The
got
tiniest of shirts,
a
Tony.
bindi, just like Gwen Stefani. Wait, are you doing shirt on shirt? Are there two shirts happening, or is that like a jacket on shirt?
Yeah, just a little jacket with the.
It's not a
shirt.
true SOS.
Yeah. 'Cause my
which is
husband-
also another. That's like a 90s band.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we're talking aughts band reference of your thumb through, 90s fashion was thermal. If you wore a thermal long sleeve and put a t-shirt over it, people were like, "This dude likes Pearl Jam."
And then I was like, I want to sleep with that dude.
Yeah,
I was very into a thermal under a shirt. It's like, it's more than just wearing clothes. It's wearing clothes, but it says, I have a story.
Yeah.
Because they never looked new. They always looked, I mean, you bought them to look distressed already.
That's really funny, Alison. I've never actually had a conversation about this topic, and you strike me as something. What was, when you were a budding sexual being or romantic being, what was your like, for me, like you just said, and if a guy had that, I was going to try to hook up with him. For me, it was like Suicide Girl adjacent, anything that was remotely emo or makeout club, like all these, like I'm trying to remember these like weird club websites I would go to look at like cool scenester girls with, and my high school girlfriend had like a short boyish haircut and like a tongue ring, and a tattoo, and she kickboxed. Like I was into like any girl who was like edgy girl who had like a nose ring and wore like striped stockings or whatever. I was just like, that was Gabrus catnip, Gabrus nip, if you will.
Like Hot Topic girls?
This is Gabrus nip.
Oh my God, we just saw your nip.
Yeah, well, I mean, I set myself up there.
Yeah, you
and
had to.
We're
So
on
wait,
vid.
you're talking about like the Hot Topic look, right?
Not exactly, because that was like a certain look too, but it was like less goth and like My Chemical Romancy, and more into sort of like scenester, like indie girls, like like big glasses and like colored streaks in your hair, or like drastic hair is a word I would use, like drastic makeup, like intense.
Yeah,
girls who like if a girl was into like movies or music in any way, that was like appealing to me.
How did you feel about Natalie Portman in that horrendous movie Garden State?
I was a little too old at that point to fall for her for the Manic Pixie Dream Girl shit at that point, but I was a Manic Pixie Dream Girl guy. Like that's who I was into.
Right. That's what I'm picturing.
By the time that movie came out, I was a little old. Also, Natalie Portman, a Long Islander, junior year prom. She's graduated a year ahead of me. Her prom, I think she went to Syosset High School, was in the same building as mine. And this is 1999, the year Phantom of the Menace is what I just said. It's the year Phantom Menace came out. And she's kind of popular, and me and my nerd friends, the nerd herd, we're like, we gotta go into her prom, we gotta rescue Queen Amidala, it'd be so fucking funny, man, it'd be crazy. And we were like, thought it would be the coolest thing. And I'm dressed in here's a 99. Talk about liking music and dressing appropriately. 1999, what did I wear to this is the short-haired tongue ring girl's prom? She was 1 year ahead of me. I wore a zoot suit.
Oh, boy.
Wingtips.
Of course you did.
Hat, chain wallet, pinstripe. Yeah. And did I take swing dancing lessons with her for months leading up to it? Yes. And then did I request Big Bad Voodoo Daddy? Yes. And then did I throw her around and her foot kick a piece of the chandelier off and the entire high school went ham? Yes, that did happen. We did do a good job. The pictures, I look like a fucking asshole. Like, and she's dressed like a flapper, and no one else in the school is dressed like that. It was like, I thought it was the coolest shit ever. In hindsight, the pictures are so embarrassing, but at the time, it was like, that was cool.
Did
like,
the
I had
crowd part when you guys did your dance like in a movie?
Yeah, we
that's
started because her friends, it was her grade, her graduating class. Her friends knew we had taken classes, so they kind of helped like set up, like, gather around for Gabrus and insert woman's name here who did not co-sign me telling all these stories about her.
Oh my God. This is how cool I am. When you said Phantom of the you said I was about to say Phantom of the Menace, my brain was like opera, and
Yeah.
I got excited.
Well, that makes sense because that is the phrase.
But
Phantom of the Menace is, my brain was heading towards the opera as well.
right. Okay, so that's what you were into. And I already said I liked the grunge guys. Yeah, I liked any sort of like grunge, sort of dirt baggy, but not like a dirt baggy guy who is like has scabs and is missing teeth, or like not that level of dirtbag, but just like like a bad boy.
You want the cosplaying as
like
guy.
me.
The kid who's got like a nice family.
Right. Like the way Tony is when he podcasts. Yeah. So like a little bit long hair. He looks like he skateboards or surfs or snowboards. I grew up in Orange County, California. So, you had to have a thing for action sports guys. That's what I liked. Tony, what was Tony Thaxton catnip when you were coming of age?
Kind of along the same lines as Gabrus. I think maybe not quite as extreme, but it really was like maybe that look, but not as much of the maybe like a slightly toned down version of not like tattoos and lots of piercings, but maybe that kind of
like
hair.
Whereas he liked vivid hair color, you liked pastel hair color.
It's more so the haircuts. I don't know. It's the same thing of just like I would get excited by girls who were into that same stuff. Yeah, like movies and music and stuff, and like girls, yeah, they're just in that same world. But then if they happen to that I found them cute on top of that, then wonderful.
Hell fucking yeah.
God. All right. We have more to talk about, but I want to talk to you guys about Vegamore. Speaking of hair, I don't know if you've noticed how wonderful my hair looks recently. But I have been using Vegamore products. I've been using their shampoo, their conditioner, and their Grow serum. So Vegamore is a transformative, 100% vegan and holistic approach to hair health that leverages smart botanicals clinically proven to promote visibly thicker, fuller, longer looking hair. And Vegamore's Grow Revitalizing Shampoo and Conditioner Kit and Grow Serum, those are the products I've been using, work together to create visibly thicker hair and improve hair from the roots. It's easy to use. You just massage the shampoo into your scalp for 60 seconds. So I put a quarter-size thing of the shampoo and then I massage it, really focusing on the scalp, and then pull it through my hair. And then I let it sit there while I wash some of my other bits. So I go maybe a little longer than 60 seconds. Then I rinse it out. Then I put the conditioner in. The conditioner is like wonderfully nice and thick and feels very expensive. And then I put that in my hair, and then I shave my legs. So that's in there for a little longer than 60 as well. And then I get out, towel off, and then I put the Grow serum in, like concentrating on areas where I want my hair to look thicker. It all smells really good. It's like a sweet citrus. And I really do think my hair looks better since I've been using it. Before, I wasn't loyal to one shampoo. I have a number of them in my shower. But since I've started using this, I've noticed the other ones, they're invisible to me. I've been loyal just to this one. All Vegamore products are 100% vegan and cruelty-free and never contain parabens or hormones. And best of all, they have a 90-day money-back guarantee. My hair is looking thicker and fuller, and I'm getting my confidence back thanks to Vegamore. Try Vegamore risk-free for 90 days. Trust me, you're going to love them. Go to Vegamore, that's VEGAMOUR.com/BFF, and use code BFF to save 20% on your first order. That's Vegamore, VEGAMOUR.com/BFF. Code BFF to save 20% at Vegamore.com/BFF. And I also want to talk to you guys about BetterHelp. If you've listened to me for any amount of time, you know I'm super into therapy. It's helped me immensely, and I kind of think everyone could benefit from it if they're open to it. So this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. And some people think that they should wait till they're in a crisis moment or things have really gone awry to get into therapy, but you don't really need to wait till it's that bad. Therapy is a tool to utilize before things get worse, and it can help you avoid those lows. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. I have 2 friends who started with BetterHelp during the pandemic because they couldn't get in with a traditional therapist because wait lists are crazy long, and they both are so happy to be matched with their therapist. They love it. It's helping them immensely. Give it a try. See why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. Alison Rosen is your new best friend. Listeners get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/bestfriend. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/bestfriend. Okay. So what was it, if you remember, Gabrus, that you did on that tour where you got your scholarship revoked and then you had to do a letter writing campaign?
I was visiting Siena College. It was for there's like and maybe it's a countrywide thing, but there's like something called presidential scholars, and it's like some arbitrary GPA and SAT score algo that you get a few $1,000s to the school. My parents said, if you get a scholarship to a school, you can go to it no matter how much the rest of it costs. Like if you get an academic scholarship anywhere, so even if it was $5,000 a year, they'd be like, oh yeah, we'll cover what I thought was the rest of it, then student loans, then it's all explained to you how, don't worry, we're taking these out in your name and you'll deal with them when you're older. It's like, oh, okay. So I'm at some fucking like big ass ballroom thing, and there's a speaker and there's a hypnotist or like a sleight of hand guy. Mm-hmm. And then like the dean goes up there to speak, and I am a class clown kind of weirdo. And again, constantly trying to flirt and make girls laugh. Like that's my entire life at this point, is just like, and now I'm at a table with a bunch of other high school seniors who are visiting the college for a day and are, new to me and don't know I'm a dork and don't know I'm a loser, but I am funny. So I'm just being very fun and I'm getting laughs and I'm just going too hard. And like now I'm a grown up and I know like how to not be disruptive, but still come across as, how to sneak in my little comedy and not blow an entire. But what I did was distract from what was supposed to happen there, of course. And so the dean came up to me afterwards and said, I would like to meet with you. They're like, how long are you in town for? And I said, I'm staying the night with a friend who goes here, a kid from a grade above me. And my parents like, we'll get a hotel. You could stay with that kid. I'll be like, I was like, great. It was like a Monday night or whatever. He's like, you got to come in tomorrow morning for a meeting with me because you're misbehaving or whatever. And I go, I'm like, okay, asshole. Go out that night. I'm a senior in high school. I'm at a college bar. I learned what a Dr. Pepper shot is, which is a shot of amaretto with a little bit of 151 to light it on fire, dropped into a beer, and then you smash it down, and it tastes like Dr. Pepper. It really does. Delicious. It is delicious, and it gets you wasted, especially if you're 18 and hard liquor isn't a normal thing for you right now. Beer I was drinking every weekend, or malt liquor, or Smirnoff Ice, or what we had Mike's Hard back then. I was drinking some version of that every weekend, never really hard. Like once in a while, be like, JP's dad, we stole a bottle of vodka from JP's dad. We're going to mix it with orange juice, which is a drink we know about. Like, and we just drank like a screwdriver but getting weight and having the time of life, all these. And this is another problem of mine. Like stunt eating and drinking has always gotten me attention too. Like when I was a rookie lifeguard, all the older lifeguards, including the women, would be like, holy shit, Gabrus won another chugging contest, or he took his clothes off and dove off the high dive at the party. Like, and I'm like, attention. So I'm loving it. And I'm having the time. Like everyone else seems to be digging it. Have a great time. Wake up in the morning, hungover as fuck. Sleep through when I was supposed to meet with but I'm like, he doesn't know who the fuck I am. I go to class. I just want to tap myself on the back. I go to my friend's class with him and sit through a history class, which I thought was kind of cool and grown up of me. And then like a few months, I go home. My mom's like, I'm like, I love Siena. Let's go. It rules. Like I met a girl with big boobs last night. If she goes there, she'll be at the same school as me, like, and that's worth going somewhere for 40 years of my life. So I fucking, and then like a few months later, my financial aid packet comes in from Siena and the scholarship's not included. My mom calls the school. I think you made a mistake. No, your son's scholarship was revoked. He was asked to meet with the dean of admissions or whatever, and he skipped the meeting. And my mom is like, what is all? And then that's when it all unfolds. He was disruptive during this thing. You're a fucking child. So then I have to go like go to a local high school and go to a local hotel and apologize to the guy like 2 months later. But again, I'm enough of a child that when I get my scholarship back, I'm already like, fuck you forever, taking it away. I'm going to my second choice right now just because I think you miffed me in some way. Just like childish bullshit. And I think I made the right decision in hindsight now that based on my friends and my wife and all that shit. But that was a real lesson learner because I was a misbehavior my whole misbehaving. I was misbehaving like my whole. There's a good sound cue for you, Tony. Let's pull that up. I was a punk my whole life, like a troublemaker, and that was the first time I was like, oh, it's not as cute. Like if you're like supposed to be there for a reason, you know what I mean? It's like. And then you're like, have to learn that hard in your 20s where you're like, this PA job sucks, but I can't fuck around too hard. Like, this is my job now, and people are reliant on me in some capacity, which is, again, whack. But you know what I mean?
You mentioned therapy and sort of becoming more self-actualized. What got you into therapy?
What got me into therapy? Sort of living in Los Angeles and being down and hearing from people that I'm self-conscious about complaining to my wife all the time. I'm very self-conscious of it. And so I found myself being like, if I could pay someone to hear my problems, at least I won't have to like put my wife in a bad mood or make her listen to me bitching about shit. So I started going to therapy, and then I started to feel better. I started to feel improvement, and I eventually stopped because I kind of got like too comfortable with my therapist. It wasn't really progressing in any way. So I stopped in like the middle of the pandemic, and I should get back into it. I've got a busy few weeks coming up, but I think this summer I'm gonna, like May-ish, I've got some therapy recommendations. I'm gonna meet with some therapists, Zoom with them or whatever, and get back into it. Once every comedian is going to therapy, you lose you think for a while that you're like, if I go to therapy and I get fixed, I won't be funny anymore. Right. Like what's cool about me won't and it's like that. No, I've just got better tools to handle all the shit that's not cool about me. But yeah, once you hear like every comic that you think is a weirdo and like you like look up to is like, yeah, my therapist said blank, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, maybe it's time.
You mentioned that you feel self-conscious about complaining to your wife. How come?
I don't know. I like to keep the vibes good. And I think I have issues with sharing my burdens in ways, you know what I mean? Like I don't like to be like, so like, what's going on? I'll be like, no, you don't need to, I don't want this on your head as well. Like I get like, it's not a big enough deal for me to like let you. And I think part of that is because the people in my life frequently let me into their problems too much.
Okay.
And I might be a reaction to that. Like a lot of my close ones are like, let me unload on you about how fucked up this current thing is or how upset I am about this current thing. And I'm like, not always mentally ready to get into the funk or hear a bunch of negative shit. So I think that activated my own self-consciousness of like, I'm not going to, how is everything? Well, and it's like, no, this is just like, great, see you around. Like, you don't have to like, every once in a while, I'm like, how you doing? It's like, well, my husband's hearing is going. It's like, okay. When I say like, how's it going? I don't mean like, hey, let's catch up. Like, I have friends that I have these conversations with, but there's so many people in my life, in my family, in my extended family, and my in-laws who are just like ready to unpack whatever they're dealing with you in like a moment's notice.
What's rattling around my head is the idea of being in a marriage where you're trying to keep the vibes good. Like, it'd be so much better if my husband and I did that. But like, what is that like?
It doesn't work all the time. You know what I mean? Like, friction is friction, baby. You can add all the lube you want. Eventually the fucking gears are going to clank. I try to keep the vibes positive, and I do think my wife is sort of a little more pessimistic, a little glass half empty kind of person. So like, I think we're like a good balance that way. But I don't think I still I get in bad moods, and I'm still like, if I feel comfortable unloading what's going on with anyone, it's unfortunately my wife. But I still try to keep that. I keep that to a minimum. And it's not like if I'm like bad news, like if bad news or something in the world or something in our lives is happening, it's more if it's something is like, I'm stressed about a work thing. Like, I'm like, I don't need to open this up. Part of it is the rationale, and I can be a little too logical at times. I've been told by loved ones. But for me, it's a little bit like, it's not going to help the problem if they find out about it.
Right.
It's going to make the problem kind of win in a way. It's going to make the problem succeed. And now it's like now
you're giving it oxygen.
Yeah, I've shared it. Like, now that problem is two people's problem. And it's like, if I could just take that and relieve someone, I have to deal with it anyway. It's on me. And it's not like, I understand, like, talk about your problems with your loved ones and stuff. But I think too frequently I'm like, you meet someone, it's like, oh, well, Christ, this guy cut me off on the Los Feliz Drive, and I'm like, okay, well, thank you. Now I have anxiety, and let's go on a hike,
does your wife wish that, where is she in all this? Like, does she wish you would open up more?
No, I don't think I'm not open, but
Okay.
I am sort of like, how was your day? It was fine. No, I'm like, how was your day? And my wife's like, well, lucky for you, I still have beat by beat memorized what I've done so far today. Like, and then she just tells me everything. Well, I went to the flower market and like, it's just like, I ran into so-and-so, like, she can tell me. And I just like, so all the stuff I was saying about negative shit, add that to like shit that I'm just like, I don't want to bother anyone with this bullshit. Like, how was your day? It was like, cool. Well, I did Alison Rosen is your new best friend. I saw Alison and Tony. Alison says, don't call me Al. And it's like, I had a doctor's appointment and a Zoom meeting, and then I had to clean my office after. Oh yeah. I put away a lot of stuff. It's like, who fucking cares I barely care about that. And it was my day. Like, I like, and I understand. And again, I also can intellectualize that your partner might want to know minor bullshit details, or your friend or your roommate might want to know all that. But that's not for me. Like, then I got to answer a bunch of, what'd you and Alison and Tony talk about? Well, we talked
Thumb
about
holes
like,
and squirrels.
Yeah. And then you're like, why? Oh, and now you're like, it was just barely not a waste of time when we had the conversation on a podcast. Now running it. Well, I'm not saying your podcast is any more of a waste of time than mine, or Joe Rogan's, or NPR's.
No, Joe Rogan is doing important work.
Thank you, Joe. Please, more time for Jordan Peterson in a tuxedo. But like, now I'm telling you about how the podcast went.
Yeah.
This is like telling you about a dream or an improv show. I just like, let's move on.
So Daniel, and I love him. I'm not trying to bash him, but when I walk,
but
I know. And you were, and the episode of the Thursday show that you were on was a particularly like ridiculously spicy one, because that was the one where I came up with a script for him.
You guys were processing some trauma.
Yeah, it's not always like that. Oftentimes it's jokingly like that. But anyway,
and thank God you got me on that pod, because if you were just trying to unpack like emotional, like intelligent stuff with Nick Wagner, you would have been fucked. Great guy, very smart. Don't know if he's fully up on like human interaction.
Okay, what does that mean?
I don't think he's.
Is he a little robotic?
I think he needs a system. No, I don't think so. I just think he needs a system update to understand human emotions better. Now I'm shit talking a friend on another podcast. What do you got me doing here? Come on.
Fun. Come on.
This
That's
is all you.
I know. Everyone loves Nick Weiger. Everyone loves him. He sent me a book on how to break up with my phone, and I haven't read it yet. And I've started it, but I haven't finished it because I don't want to get to the part where it like makes me really realize how much I have to break up with my phone.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Daniel will be like, how was the podcast today? And I'm like, good. And I never really have more detail than that. And he'll be like, anything interesting happen? And I'm like, it hurts me to have to think in this manner. And I don't even know what this manner is that he's asking me to think. But something about like something that I just experienced and my brain hasn't collated and digested all the experience yet. And also like, I have this weird amnesia bubble that happens right after a podcast where I'm not really thinking. I don't know. It's just somehow like it's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, and I'm also stupidly present in the podcast where I'm like half. It's like you're trying to create content while you're talking, and you're like, I'm engaged with this person, but then it's over, and it's like, like that was an event, and it's like, how was it? Great. How was it? Fine. How was it? It was bullshit. It's like the 3 kind of episodes you can have, right? Like, but you can't. What was great about it? I don't know. It was easy, and we were laughing.
Yeah.
Tony showed us his thumb holes.
His thumb holes. I saw some squirrels getting it on. Yeah, you're right. It's like because he's asking. Thank you for allowing me to unpack this. He's asking as a listener. Like, oh, was it an interesting episode or whatever? And I'm just speaking as a host, like, it was good. We had good rapport. It was good. I feel like it was like revelatory in some way, or like I felt like they didn't like me, or it was uncomfortable, or like those are the only
or like
ways
I don't think I'll have that person back on, you know, like whatever it might be. Like there's a bunch of possible options, but you're not thinking like, I mean, I'm not putting out any good I'm speaking for myself here. I'm not like thinking about how good the ep is on the other end. I'm thinking about how good I can make the conversation for myself and the person I'm talking, person or persons I'm talking to. I want to, in that moment, I'm like, how can I make this as enjoyable for both of us? And then I know that translates sort of to the audience, but I can never guess what the audience is gonna like or dislike. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? And because my podcast is so varied and so self-indulgent, it's like not asking for people to like it in any capacity.
I think everyone likes your podcast. I think everyone does.
I think you might be right. I mean, I could see hating it, but I also don't make anyone listen to it. So if you hate it, good news. You never put it on and you're fine.
So we have some questions here that listeners sent in on Patreon that I would like to get to. I am on patreon.com/Alison Rosen. You can listen to bonus episodes of The Friend Zone. I recently had Tony on and he answered all sorts of questions, including some that had hot steaming tea and hot goss.
Hot steaming tea is one of my other nicknames.
That's right. Oh, we should be calling you that. And there's a level where you can text me and I'll text you back. There's Zoom parties. You can see the Thursday show videos. If you subscribe for a year, an annual subscription, you get 2 months free, 12 months for the price of 10. Okay.
Questions from our fans.
All right. Shmoo says, does he have a favorite Thanksgiving Eve Power Hour or a favorite memory from them? They're some of my favorite podcast episodes.
I guess my favorite memory from them, I think the first one that is on the pod, not the first Power Hour, but the first Thanksgiving Power Hour. And I won't say any spoilers, but Nick Weiger, the aforementioned Nick Weiger, who's now come up twice, he's kind of legendary on these Power Hours. On a recent one, he drank gravy instead of beer. But on one of the first ones, he shared a secret. Nicole Byer pitched "Let's All Share Secrets."
Oh, that's fun.
Weiger shared a secret that was, and I'm not trying to drive traffic to my podcast, but I am not going to share that secret anymore, except on his podcast or mine if I'm talking to him.
Tony, do you know what it is?
I believe I know what it is. Yes.
Oh, someone's going to tell me afterwards.
Yeah.
But everyone go listen to that.
Exactly.
Was it quite the humdinger? Oh my God.
Yeah. Interesting choice.
Wait, is that really what it is?
Interesting choice of words, Allison. Say
oh my God.
Say no more. We'll just say that humdinger is an interesting choice of words.
Oh my
Okay.
word. Okay. Carlos, how far?
But also, if let me give a non-throwing a friend under the bus answer for these power hours. For me, the fact that I have this recurring group of friends, Mitch, Nick, Nicole Byer, Betsy, and Mono, that are down to every Thanksgiving Eve. We're all grown-ups now. People have families. People have responsibilities. But they're still down to come to the UCB theater or in the last couple years, get on Zoom and get blasted together. And we give money towards charity. It's like a blast every time. So I enjoy being able to do that. And it makes me very happy that other people enjoy those power hour episodes. Going off me doing stunt eating and drinking for attention. It's the same fucking thing. And now I'm 40. This coming Thanksgiving, I'm going to be 40 doing a power hour. That's wild. It's unnecessary.
Listen, I'm going to make a pitch here.
Whoa.
I feel like we should be friends because I feel like we're doing similar things in life. I mean,
that's possible. You are my new best friend.
Yeah. But
I signed that thing that Tony sent over, the DocuSign, about how I actually am your best friend once you do the podcast. I didn't fully understand it.
Yeah, it's
but
binding.
I filled it out. Yeah, I gave you my employee identification number.
It's binding.
Just
so
sign it. Don't
there
worry
will be
about
follow-up.
it. Just sign it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, Carlos Alfaro says, what is your all-time favorite meal you've had with the Doughboys?
Oh, with the Doughboys. Interesting.
Ooh, if you would like to make that your all-time favorite meal you've ever had, we would accept that as well.
Okay, I just love that all your questions are about the Doughboys. Podcast fans are so funny. It's like, ask him anything you want. Dude, ask him a question about another podcast. Okay. Sure. I mean, that's what I do, so I'm okay answering that. I feel like I was with these guys and we ate at, Au Chevelle in Chicago. And I think they have a downstairs, or they are the downstairs version. It's a restaurant in Chicago. The upstairs is a very fancy restaurant. That's either Au Chevelle or underneath it. The food there, a friend of mine's, a guy I worked with, his sister or his brother or sister-in-law and brother-in-law, whatever capacity, they managed it. And we went after a Chicago comedy. What were we there for? What festival? I was there with them doing. Oh, we did Portillo's with Nangle, and then we went to this place after, and the burger was so fucking good. The food was so good, and I frequently eat fast casual chain foods with those guys. So for me to have a non-chain meal with them, like a non for the podcast meal, was just a real delight, a real treat.
But did it feel like a waste at all?
It not at all. It was actually kind of enjoyable because then like I was eating for my enjoyment and not exclusively for like exploration / bits, you know, where it's like when we go to some place that I've never had before, I got to try like so much shit because I want to talk about it. And then I also love the reaction that the crowd gives when they're like, what? How much did you eat? You fucking pig. Like, again, stunt eating and drinking.
Jill Poo 3, are you doing anything wild and crazy for your upcoming landmark birthday in a few days?
Unfortunately, I am not. I mean, I'm doing something crazy, but it's not for my birthday. And eventually people will find out what exactly this is. But I'm just a little busy with some bullshit. And so, and also Omicron, and I had COVID over the holidays, and I got a bunch of travel coming up. So having a low-key 40th. I do believe I'm going to punt a 40th celebration to like this summer because I want to do something outdoorsy. Yeah. So I think I'm going to have like my we go away for birthdays with like a small group of friends, and we're going to we went to New Orleans for my wife's 40th. Oh, nice. I think we're going to do something beachy for me, but it'll be this summer after I'm like done with some shit and when it makes more sense to go to the beach.
You had COVID when we talked. How was it for you? It was pretty mild, right?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I kind of just was beat up from it. It was like a mild cold. I think I told you this too. If it was like 2019, 2018, I would have like done shows and gone to restaurants or gone to work like that. Because it wasn't like I used to do that shit when you'd be like, before we learned about COVID. I'm sure other people are more smart, but like not until COVID was I was like, you know, like eyes pussing, boogers pouring out of my nose, being like, gotta go to the office and make $100 today, or like, can't miss this shift at the restaurant because I'm so broke. And it's like, now
we used to call that a work ethic.
Yeah, and now it's risky behavior.
Right.
I mean, it was risky behavior then too. It's crazy. Times are different these days, huh?
Have you noticed? I've noticed that it seems like they're changing. Also,
the world is changing.
Kids today.
And phones?
Maureen Bosduman says, I love Gabrus. Are he and his wife high school sweethearts? But now we know you're college sweethearts.
College sweethearts. As a matter of fact, coming up is our anniversary of asking to go steady to
Ooh.
Would you like to be my girlfriend? Because you don't date really in college. You kind of just start hooking up with someone and then you're like, are we official? And on February 10th, 2003, I asked Tiffany if she would be my girlfriend. So we're coming up on our 19-year anniversary of being a couple. That's insane. And in like 2 more years, we'll have been together longer than we haven't, which is like a weird milestone too.
Yeah.
Because we started dating when I was newly 21. So like eventually I'll be 42 and it'll be 21 years with her, 21 years without. It's kind of crazy.
That's really cool. Congrats. Yeah. Stephanie Piccioni. How did he meet Betsy Sodaro?
Betsy and I met at UCB. Like Betsy's one of those people that's like, I think people who knew me and knew her were saying like, you two gotta meet each other.
Shit. Really? That's so nice.
Yeah, baby. I'm talking. And it was love at first sight when I met Betsy. She's like the funniest human. She's a cartoon character come to life for the joy of others, like, and herself. Like, she's such a ball of joy. Like, and I moved here in like right before Halloween or like early November in 2012. And a friend of mine was like, oh, I went to a haunted house with some friends. And they were like guys who I knew from New York who had moved to LA. So they're like, some LA people are going to be there too, who I don't know. And Betsy was one of the people. So officially, Betsy is one of the first people I hung out with when I moved here.
Oh,
and we hit it off on this. And then we became buds. And then I think our relationship really blossomed. I directed a mod team, which is like a UCB sketch team that she was on, amongst legendary, very funny people, writers and actors. It was the easiest job I've ever had, is directing mega talented people to just be like, I'd say that one more time the way you're doing it, Jeff Hiller. You're an insane talent. Do whatever the fuck you want in this moment, you know? So a lot, Drew Tarver, a lot of shit like that, where it's like, but Betsy was one of the people too. Again, if you're ever directing a sketch show and Betsy is one of your cast members, God bless, you don't have any work to do. She's going to make, you don't have to even write funny stuff for her. Everything she says comes out funny. She can make the dumbest shit sound funny. So then we really hit it off there. And then when that was wrapped, we've done some projects together. We shot a pilot. We wrote and shot a pilot together. We've wrote a movie together. We have very similar senses of humor and fashion senses. So we get along.
Jonathan Feldman, what's the name of the making of 2001 A Space Odyssey book he mentioned on a previous episode?
Jesus Christ. This dude could just search making of 2001 book. I believe it's called Space Odyssey. Yes, it's called Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, and the Making of a Masterpiece. Great fucking book. Even if you don't like the movie, but you do like movies in any way, you're going to love this book. And for that person, you can easily, I'm not trying to push anyone away from your Patreon, but it might be cheaper to Google the question than to sign up for the Patreon, hoping that Alison will eventually have me on as a guest and you could ask this question.
Well, I suspect he gets more out of it than just the hope.
I'm assuming, I'm hoping they do as well. So. If this is a roundabout way to figure out, like, you probably could have bought the book by now.
And then Whitney C says, and this is the last one, what was his first thought when he woke up this morning?
Ooh, my first thought when I woke up this morning was, and today was just specifically that. I was like, fuck, I stayed up too late last night because I had to get up early this morning, get some shit done before I went to the doctor's office. So, and I could not fall asleep last night because I was watching the Amazon Prime show As We See It about the autistic people that live together, including comedian Rick Glassman. And it's fucking great. I put it on, like, I always throw on a show or a movie after my wife's fallen asleep at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, I'll just watch this for a little bit till I'm like, time for us both to go to bed. Wake up, hon. Let's go to bed. I put this on. I think I put on Book of Boba Fett first, and I put this on at like 11 and I watched 6 episodes. I went to bed at like 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Which I never do anymore because I always have shit to do in the morning, but I couldn't stop watching this show. And a half hour, it like catches you more than an hour because you go one more and then you're like, wow, that was actually really fast. Nothing like, look, this is going to make me sound so lazy, but binge a lot of TV, right? Like, especially I just had COVID for like 7 days over the holidays. So my wife and I just like watched all these shows. When you stumble upon a half-hour show that you haven't seen yet that has a bunch of episodes, and you could watch, like, if you like haven't watched Veep yet and have been meaning to, like, you could watch 6 episodes in 3 hours, arguably 7 if you skip, like, if you know how to like jump through the previously ons and the next week's ons. You can get like so much content into like a small, which is the length of a Marvel movie. You know what I mean? Like, you can get addicted to a new TV show. So half hours are thrilling. And it's rare that any show you want to binge is a half hour.
Right.
And just so happened this show is, and I was just like, fuck. I watched, as a matter of fact, I signed on. I was watching it at like 2:45 going like, oh, I have till 3. Watched up until 3, paused it, got into the Zoom, and it was like, they will let you into the Zoom soon. And I was like, great. Took my headphones off and pressed play. I'm like, I have to go to quote unquote work. I'm going to talk to Alison and Tony in 1 minute. And I'm like, well, let me get another minute of the TV show. And that's how I knew I was into it.
This is a real ringing endorsement for it.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just, I'm kind of sappier in my old age, and like touching comedies really hit me. And especially, I believe, stuff with people on the spectrum, like especially actors and written by and like stories of. Is everyone?
Because I know Rick Glassman is everyone else on the show?
I believe all the actors are. It's a scripted show, but it's about autistic. I think they're played by autistic people, and they're or on spectrum neurodivergent. I'm not sure what the terminology is, but it's really touching. And I think I forget the name of the Freeform show I watched, like an Australian guy who is raising his autistic like half sister, and that was really, it had 2 seasons. It was really good. And then Love on a Spectrum I really loved. And then I think I have a bunch of neurodivergent friends because of the field I work in. But
you don't feel like, do you feel like you are?
I feel like I am at times. I don't fully understand. Like, now that I understand the spectrum element of it, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably light. I'm not fully off of it. I'm definitely on it a little bit, like my obsessiveness, and like and that's self-diagnosis. No one's told me that. I understand that that's dangerous or whatever, but I just feel some kinship. But I do think the appeal of me liking them, liking content from the neurodivergent is, there's something, at least in the shows I'm talking about, and I understand this doesn't manifest its way. There's brutal honesty. Like, there's like the inability for sarcasm or the inability for phoniness in some people. And that has always appealed to me in art, like in comedy. One of my favorite improv students I ever had was a dude who English was his second language. He had spoken Japanese and he was learning English and he was a Japanese dude taking my class, and someone was like level 1. Someone's in a scene with a guy who barely speaks English, and they are going full blown 101 panic moves. And they're like, let's make love, take your shirt off. And like, it's sort of like playing with gay panic. I think the actor was gay. So it was like, he was like playing with gay panic with just stuff that you do in like level 1 improv that you're like, that's embarrassing in hindsight. But this guy, Ryu, and I'll get to my point about neurodivergence.
That's okay.
Like, because English is a second language for him, he can't, and so many people in level 1 are using sarcasm or, making choices that aren't truthful of like, okay, yeah, like, cause they're afraid to be embarrassed, or they're being too nuanced with their language. Because English was his second language, he couldn't be like cheekier. And he just said, I would not enjoy sleeping with you because I am not a homosexual. And that's what he said. And it was the hardest I had laughed in that class at that point. I'm like, and everyone's like, huh? And I'm like, that is the most honest response we have ever. He wasn't trying to make a joke. He was reacting as someone would react in a situation when someone was coming on them. Not yet. Save that for the third beat. Coming on to them. And he reacted in the way he would in real life. And because he couldn't be anything but frank in that moment, it worked so well. So I find that's, again, in a business where everyone is talking out of both sides of their mouth, there's something refreshing about someone who is direct and to the point. And like something that I pride myself on being kind of frequently, you know, of like, I don't beat around the bush. I'm kind of honest and open. So that appeals to me in such a way. So a ringing endorsement for As We See It, but understand it might be Gabrus Nip, not to be confused with Gabrus Nip.
Right. Or with Suicide Girls adjacent.
Please. That's Gabrus Nips. Plural.
Whatever. Do you know who Joanna Angel is?
Yes. And it's because, of course I know who Joanna Angel is because burningangel.com was her her like indie hipster tatted up punk rock girl.
I interviewed
site.
her for a magazine years and years ago, but she was a suicide girl, right?
I think so. I had known about her. One of my first roommates in Brooklyn was like a bartender, and he had like hooked up with her friend like in front of her. And he was like, yeah. And he was just telling me the story. He's like, yeah, I think they were like, you know, porn actors or something because their bodies were insane. They were covered in
one, yeah.
Yeah, she was. And exactly. And I was like, dude, yeah. And then he was like, her name was Joanna Angel. I was like, dude, that sounds like and then we start like, it was pre-Google even. It was probably like Yahoo search. We were like, let's look at, okay. And I'm like, wait, you hooked up with this chick like from one of the videos? Like, yeah. And it was like for fun, but it was weird. And I was like, oh man, I was blown away. So she's got a special and then of course, once you find their website, you know, you're sticking around for a little bit. You're not deleting cookies just yet if you're a young heterosexual male like myself.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you go in a sec, but now
no,
I'm
don't.
curious. What are more level 1 moves that level 1 improv students make? And I did take level 1 in New York 1,000 years ago. So, but I don't remember it very well.
Same. I took level 1 in 2003.
You know who I took it with is Betsy Stover, who has a podcast now.
Hell yeah. Betsy Stover.
She's great.
A lot of people's level 1 teachers. She's been teaching. She was a teacher when I started. I believe she still is.
Oh, really? Out here now? Yeah. And
or at least she was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't even know what the UCB is currently as I'm talking.
Right.
Other level 1 go-tos, you just, after you've seen like 2,000 virgin improv scenes, like people just doing it for the first time, you understand like you see people trying to interject what they've been told or they've already received feedback on is a funny opinion or a funny take on something, forcing it into a conversation. If someone does a character for like a third time in 8 weeks, you're like, okay, this feels like a go-to. Gay panic is a big one amongst dudes. Nervous women often go over sexual. You know, like a lot of it is nerves and anxiety boiled up with lack of experience, boiled up with me having seen millions of scenes of just like, I've seen this 100 times through. So I'm always pleasantly surprised when people are just like, my favorite level 1 scenes were like, people were like, that wasn't that funny. I'm like, but that looked like 2 people driving a car to a baseball game, at least. Like my biggest note I would always give is like, at minimum, have you ever been in a car with your friend? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, what did you do? You didn't say, look out, there's a giant octopus on the road, right? They're like, well, you know, it's just like talking and like picking music. I'm like, do that. Just do the thing you guys have set up. Like, that's the biggest thing I find is like people also walking away from the idea that they even brought of
Right.
like, oh, cool. Yeah. We're two guitar singer songwriters and we can't play the guitar and we are avoiding getting to the strumming part. And it's like, that's a simple premise. Like just do that. And like, instead it's like people create problems because they think it needs to be super heightened. And it's like one of the best, notes I ever heard. It was actually like a rude roast, but it really worked. Was a teacher. A bunch of us were doing a group game that was just like dumb, silly bullshit. And he goes to the person who was like kind of instigating it all, "What's your favorite comedy show?" And the kid goes, he's probably, a 26-year-old guy. He's like, The Simpsons. And the teacher goes, "I don't watch that show, but do they run around like assholes on that show?" And the kid is like, no. And he goes, "So then why would running around like an asshole here be funny?" And it was like, if you really do think The Simpsons is funny, think about what makes it funny to you. It's like, and I was like, holy shit, that really hit. That really hit for me.
That is harsh, but true.
Hell yeah.
It was so nice having you on the show. Thank you so much. Tell everyone where they can find you, what they should look for, etc.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is a pleasure. I'm at Gabrus on all social media. You'll probably see me in the posts that Alison does to promote this episode. I have a podcast called High and Mighty that if you're a fan of Alison Rosen, I'm assuming you are listening to this podcast, she's going to be on an upcoming episode. Check out that episode. Maybe that's a way in for you. Action Boys is another podcast of mine. That's behind a paywall, and that's more of an acquired taste. Those are very long episodes about classic action movies with a bunch of dumb inside jokes and shit. But we do have some free episodes out, so whatever you're listening to this in, you can just pull out your phone, search Action Boys. We got a free feed out there, Unlocked and Loaded, it's called. Got like 10 episodes out there. You can get a sniff, get hooked, and we'll see you behind the paywall where the real shit goes down.
Great.
Oh, and then every Monday night I do the Movie Buff on Spotify Green Room, which is a live chat show. You, the listeners, can chat with me through the app. And I'm talking about whatever big movie came out that weekend. I'm taking off this Monday that this episode airs because it's my birthday. But next Monday, February 7th, I'll be talking Jackass Forever, a movie I've been looking forward to forever.
And what time does that happen?
That's 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern every Monday night. Almost every Monday night.
That's a good time to be doing that. And listen, if you like what you're hearing, or even if you don't, leave us a nice rating. 5 stars. You can do that on Apple Podcasts. I've recently discovered you can do that on Spotify. I suspect wherever you're listening, there's some rating mechanism. Rate the show. It helps us. Leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts. I read those on the show frequently. And I mentioned Patreon already. Follow me on social media at Alison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, ariynbfshow@gmail.com, or tweet us at ariynbf. And remember, use the hashtag Fat Squirrel to let us know whether you're seeing fat squirrels and where you're located. Tony, where might we find you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at
Tony Thaxton.
And my podcast, Bizarre Albums, every Tuesday. And the Motion City Soundtrack Tour is now happening in June and July. So, all that talk of that I was doing forever about that tour, now it's going to just continue again for another 6
Wait
months.
a little bit longer.
I can't wait.
Transfer all that excitement to this summer, please.
Thank you again. Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Alison Rosen Show? We had a good time, but now we gotta go.